or if you become unable to make some decisions on your own, you still have some control about what's going to happen. And so you talked about these four: the living will, durable power of attorney, advance directives, healthcare proxy, also known as a living will in some places. Let me just say that in different states, these are a little different. What happens in New York State is different than what happens in Pennsylvania or California. So if you're one place and the person you're working with is another place, you better make sure that you know what California is doing.
That's a good point.
And there are other things also. If one goes to the hospital and you sign a healthcare proxy, and similar to a living will, that is no longer good when you come home. If someone ever asked you, do you have a living will, and you think of the time you went to have your tonsils out and you made a living will, it's not any good when you come home. So that's a separate thing you have to think about. A will is basically how you're going to divide up your property. Everybody should have that. If you want to conserve some of your assets or have them go where you want. That's number one. Durable power of attorney and power of attorney are two different things, again, that are a little bit different in different states, so make sure you know it. Advance directives. What do you want to happen? Everyone wants to know what you want to know when you're no longer able to verbalize what these decisions are.
Exactly.
If it's written down, is a lot different than your child saying, Mom always said this, because a different child will say, I never heard Mom say that, and that has happened. I've worked in that situation. There are other things also you want to make sure a person knows, besides those four things, about Social Security, checkbook, not wills, but pension, insurance policies, all of those things have to be somewhere that the people who are going to be taking care of you, that you want to take care of you and you want to leave the directions on what you want them to do for you, has to be somewhere organized where they can get to it. It's very, very important.
Let me ask you something. I mean, we just talked about having this conversation with yourself and getting these things in order and how important it is.
Yes.
Because a time will come. You know, we all have to be courageous about this and realize there's going to come a time where these essential four will come into play. But you mentioned parents, and that's the next conversation, is how do you approach your parents? With my mom, I had the conversation primarily after my father had passed away. And it was, like I said, she was wonderful. It was really easy to have this conversation with her. I wanted to know what her wishes were. And I said to her, you know, if something happened to you, I want to know what you want. And I won't know that unless you say it up front. And she already had a lot of things in place, but we talked about so many things. Like you said before, you came up with a list. Besides the essential four, I knew about her medications, which doctor she went to, what conditions she had. And I felt more comfortable knowing this, and she felt more comfortable knowing that I knew this. I'm going away very soon, and I've put things into play where I've let people know where my documents are. You know, I've let them know different things. I mean, well, I'm very organized. Some people would say anal. But regardless, if something happens to me, you have to think about your loved ones and what has to come into play.